guys, this is Bridget from the DeVay Homestead. Welcome back. Today we're going to be learning how to make this cute little girl hat with a bow. You can use any colors you would like. Today I'm using white, a light pink, and a darker pink. You may recognize the base of this hat as being the base of one of my Sky from Paw Patrol designs, but I liked it so much with the bow that I decided to make a separate video on how to do this with the bow. If you would like to see it as Sky, then please see my other video. Let's get started. To start our hat, we're first going to do our cast on. Today I'm using a double Ewrap method for our cast on. You can use whatever method that you would like. I'm going to first start by making a slip knot and placing that slip knot on my anchor peg and secure. To make my double Ewrap, I'm going to double Ewrap each peg and knit off. So continue your cast on and meet me back here. My cast on is complete and now we're ready to start the hat. To start the hat in the same color white, we're going to do 3 garter ridges. A garter ridge is achieved by doing 1 row of an Ewrap knit stitch and 1 row of a purl stitch. And we're going to repeat that 3 times. So to do our Ewrap knit stitch, we're going to bring our yarn behind the peg and we're going to wrap it like a cursive E. And since we're doing the whole row, we can go ahead and wrap a few at a time and then hold our yarn. Then go ahead and knit them off. So go ahead and repeat that around for the first row and then meet me back here. I'm just finishing up my first row. Once you finish your first row, you can go ahead and take your starting yarn off your anchor peg and push it to the center of your loom, and we'll let that just hang until we finish our hat and then we'll weave it in. So for our second row, we're going to do a purl stitch. For our purl, we're going to take our hook and put it underneath the loop that is on the peg. We're going to scoop up our working yarn. We're going to take the loop off the peg and put the new loop on and gently pull our yarn. Old loop off, new loop on, gently pull. So continue on doing your whole row with a purl stitch and then meet me back here. I just finished up my second row. So now I'm going to repeat rows 1 and 2 for 2 more times to make a total of 3 garter ridges. I just finished my 6 rows to make my 3 garter ridges. Now I'm going to do a color change to my pink. So I've cut my white off and I'm going to take my pink and make a slip knot and place that slip knot on the last peg that I knitted. I'm going to take my tail end of my pink and my tail end of my white and I'm going to tie them into a knot. Then take your slip knot off of the peg and pull out the knot, and then you want to hold the new pink and the old pink together as you continue on, and that will weave in your tail. The white we're just going to leave and we will weave that in when we are finished. So our next row is going to be an Ewrap knit stitch. So we're going to Ewrap and knit off the next row. For our second row in our light pink, we are going to do a figure 8 stitch. To do a figure 8 stitch, we are going to take our yarn that's connected with our last peg. We're going to call the peg next to it peg 1 and then peg 2. So from your working yarn peg, you're going to skip peg 1 and you're going to Ewrap peg 2. Then you're going to come back and Ewrap peg 1 and then knit off both of them. So now your working yarn is connected to what was peg 1. So now this is our new peg, and we're going to skip the peg next to it, go to this one, Ewrap, come back to the first peg, Ewrap, and knit off. So each time we do this, we're moving over one peg, even though we are knitting off 2. So now we are connected to this peg. We're going to skip this one, go to the next peg, Ewrap, come back to that peg, Ewrap, and knit off. When I knit off my second peg, I usually will take my hook and push that loop down. That way, when I come and Ewrap for the second time, I have room to Ewrap on top of there. So continue on this row of figure 8 and meet me back here. I'm just finishing up my last row of figure 8, and I just wanted to show you what that was like. So I wrapped this one and then I knitted it off, but my working yarn is still connected to this peg. So in order to complete the row, I need to skip the last peg and go to the first peg of the next row, do my figure 8 stitch, and now my working yarn is connected to my last peg and I am finished this row. So we did one row of Ewrap and one row of figure 8. Now we're going to do 3 more rows. We're going to do one more row of Ewrap, one more row of figure 8, and then end in one row of Ewrap. So that gives us 5 total rows in our light pink color. Ewrap, figure 8, Ewrap, figure 8, Ewrap. So finish all your 5 rows in your light pink and meet me back here. I just finished the 5 rows of my light pink, and now I'm going to change colors to my dark pink. Once I have my dark pink, I'm going to do 4 garter rows. So on the brim, we did 3 garter rows, or garter ridges, by doing 1 row of Ewrap and 1 row of purl 3 times. So for our dark pink, we're going to do 4 garter ridges. So that means we're going to Ewrap 1 row, purl 1 row, and we're going to repeat that 4 times. So go ahead and Ewrap your first row, purl your second row, and do that 4 times, and then meet me back here. Now I'm finished my 8 rows that made my 4 garter ridges, and now I'm going to do a color change back to our light pink. With our light pink, we're going to finish the rest of the hat. So for the rest of the hat, we're going to alternate rows between our Ewrap knit stitch and our figure 8 stitch, just like we did on the 5 pink rows down here. So alternate between your Ewrap knit stitch and your figure 8 stitch till you get the length of the hat that you would like. So finish off the length of your hat and then meet me back here for our bind off. I've completed the body of my hat. For this one, I did 5 sets of an Ewrap one row and figure 8 the next row. I did 5 sets of that, and then I finished in an Ewrap row. You always want to finish in an Ewrap row. That way your drawstring bind off will work better. Once we're finished our drawstring bind off, we want to weave in these threads that are hanging from where we changed the colors, and we also want to weave in our starting yarn. The ones in the middle, when we did the color change, we did knots when we color changed, so we can just weave those in. But for the bottom, I'm going to make a knot so that we can secure it. So first I'm going to weave it in a little bit away from the edge, and then I'm going to secure it with a knot. And then I'm going to weave the ends in. So continue weaving your ends in, and then we'll finish up our hat. And the base of our hat is complete, and now we will do the embellishments. So I finished my cast on. So to recap, I have my slip knot on one peg, and then I have 5 more pegs of my double Ewrap cast on. So I have 6 total pegs that are wrapped. For this pattern, we're going to be going back and forth. When we're going to the right, we are going to use our Ewrap knit stitch, and on the way back we're going to be using the purl stitch, except there's going to be a little catch when we're coming back, and I'll show you that in a second, but we're just going to Ewrap that way and purl this way. When we're on the ends, our end pegs are our slip stitch pegs, so we are not going to wrap them when it's the first peg going this way. So we're going this way, so we're going to skip the first peg, and we're going to Ewrap and knit off the other 5 pegs. I can go ahead and take this yarn and just push it to the back, and we'll leave that for when we're finished. Now, I want to go this way, and we're going to purl, but the same thing as before is we're never going to do the first peg. We're always going to skip the first peg and go to the second peg and purl this row. When we get to our last peg on our purl row, we're not going to purl it. We're actually going to Ewrap and knit it off. The reason is if we purl it, it's going to give us an extra kind of funky loop when we finish our bow. So on our purl row, we want to end it in an Ewrap. And I explained this more in detail in the other video. Okay, so we did rows 1 and rows 2. We're going to keep going back and forth till we get a total of 20 rows. So that was 2 rows. So now row 3, again, we're going to skip the first peg and we're going to Ewrap and knit off the other 5 pegs. Now row 4, coming back, we're going to skip that first peg and we're going to purl the next 4 pegs. And we're going to Ewrap and knit off that last peg on our purl row. We have 4 rows complete. So go ahead and finish off till you get to 20 rows and then meet me back here. I just finished up 20 rows and now I'm going to show you how to do the bind off. To do the bind off, we are going to Ewrap the second peg and knit it off. We're going to take the loop that's on the second peg and move it over to the first peg, knit off, then move this loop over to peg 2. And we're just going to keep repeating that process. Ewrap, knit off the second to last peg, move over, knit off, move over. Again, Ewrap, knit off the second to last peg, move peg 2 over to peg 1, knit over peg 1, and move the loop over from 1 to 2. We're coming to our last peg. We're going to Ewrap, knit off, move this loop over to loop 1, and knit off. Now we're going to take our scissors and cut a tail. Take our hook, put it under the loop that is on there, kind of like a purl stitch, except you're going to pull the working yarn all the way through and take it off your loom. And there we have our bow that will cinch up here in a second. So first I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to weave in the tail ends and then we'll finish off our bow. And our bow is complete. And as you can see, using this pattern, it's double-sided. So either side you use is going to look the same. The edges are nice and finished. You have this really pretty side, and that's why we do not wrap the last loop on our row, or our first loop rather. Okay, so to cinch up the center, you can use the same color yarn as the bow, which we're going to do, or you could use a contrasting color like that. But we're going to use the same color. I'm going to cut a piece of yarn that's about 12, 18 inches. And I'm going to take a shorter tail with a longer tail, and I'm going to tie them in a knot, bringing the center of our bow together. Now once I have my knot, I'm going to take my long tail. I'm just going to take the short tail and just hold it off to the side. And I'm going to take my long tail and I'm just going to wrap it around a bunch of times to give it that nice little center bow look. Then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to take the two tails and tie them together again in a knot. And there we have it. Our bow is complete. So now we can take our two tails and we can put them on a yarn needle and attach our bow to the hat. So I'm going to do that right now, and then we'll see what our final product looks like. I'm just putting it through the hat, and then I'm putting it through the back loop of the bow till I get it nice and secure. I can do that a couple times, and then I'm going to tie it off on this end. So do that and meet me back here. And there we have it. Our cute little girl hat is complete. Subscribe to my videos so you can see more awesome hats. See you guys next time. Bye.